Hi. So, hello everyone. I'm Patricia. And on this privileged 15 minutes of fame that I have here, I'm going to take us through a thought experiment. And a thought experiment is really just a fancy name that I gave to the process of using that question that I put there, where do you draw the line, to make us think a little bit outside of our reality box or our security concerns that we have right now in the present. So, first of all, just a tiny bit of a disclaimer. You can see there, it's mentioning Schrodinger's cat, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because towards the end, it's not sinister, but it does mention something like a little bit weird, and you'll see that it has something to do with brain-computer interfaces as well. But again, it's not to be sinister, it's just to unravel new perspectives, so to expand our minds to new ways of thinking towards a problem. Having that said, what's the plan? Because every how to do presentations says we should have a plan and we should show the plan. And the first thing that I'm going to present to you is how we're going to set the scene. So why use the question that I posed, where do you draw the line? And after that, we are using that question to challenge our boundaries in terms of security concerns. And finally, if I completely mess this up and we are all lost, we will just have a few key takeaways that I hope at least that brings some value to us all. So let's start by understanding why are we using this where do you draw the line expression or question. So I was having a discussion with a colleague of mine, and he had his point, I had my point. No one was really winning. My colleague was saying, okay, no, this is fine, but this is not fine. And the way I was able to make him look at the issue from a different perspective was by saying, well, you cannot see the text because it's too clear, obviously, but we draw the line. Everyone draws the line where they stand. So, if you draw the line here, it's because you stand here and you agree with that. And I was like, okay, but if you agree with that, someone that agrees with something a little bit above, why is that not good for you? What makes your perspective better than that person's perspective? And I understood that really fits in a lot of arguments that you can have with other people about issues. Not all of them, but many times it's just an opinion. It's an opinion-based discussion. So you can use that to say, to challenge the other person, saying, hey, why is your line better than my line? Now applying that to security and security concerns through a timeline, a generational timeline. So in the past, my grandparents, they would have things like telephones and letters. They used nothing like anything smart. They would write their own letters and they would forward them, and their concerns were mainly, is my letter reaching the right person? If they're really fancy, they will think about, what about wiretapping? Is my telephone being wiretapped? So you could even ask, if I ask them, what about this business availability, because it's relying on a server running in some kind of store, like some cloud service provider. Well, they're like, it's not within their security concerns, because it's not within their reality box. Their reality box was solely telephones, letters. Pretty much that. Now, if we move a little bit forward to right now, I challenge, I dare to say that everyone here has some kind of social network. And more than that, it's probably running on some kind of cloud service. So someone else's computer is running that application. So, and the concerns here are not just the privacy and the data management side, making sure that, who has my data? Did they delete it? What data are they collecting about me? It starts also being business-wise, because business start relying a lot on servers that are just spread around the world and networks. So availability starts being a concern as well. So you can see the shift from the past to the present. The concerns are changing. And even in the present itself, we can see that a few years ago, what I'll be a lot concerned about my network perimeter and making sure that my network was trustworthy and the firewalls just blocked anything that wasn't. And now, because of work from home and everyone having their own devices, we start shifting that concern. Even just in the present, what I'm considering the present, we start shifting that concern to identity. So from the network perimeter to identity. So I think it's just interesting to see how even what there is being considered present, it's constantly evolving. And now, well, not now, in the future, what are we looking at? We're looking at brain-computer interfaces. We're looking at virtual reality, augmented reality, and that brings its own concerns. So, as it was mentioned just an hour ago, the brain-computer interfaces do put new security concerns, or should make us think about new security concerns. And what I think happens here is that, I believe it's kind of a mistake, we are applying a lot of the present security concerns and security and present threats to the future threats, the future of technology. So really what I wanted to explore is what's even further, what's the trend there? So, I was at Security Besides Dundee up in Scotland, and there was this talk about metaverse and how even organizations are investing quite a lot in not only having video conferencing with cameras on. They actually want you to feel in the room. So you have a VR set, and you look around, and you are in a room, and you feel like you are in a room because you have visual and hearing those kind of sensations. So we can see that the trend seems to be to make what we would traditionally look as a physical thing, but virtually. So I'm in a room, but I'm not actually in a room. But why stop ourselves just in the visual and the hearing sensations? Why not? Just like was said previously, our sensations are just signals to our brain. Why not start mimicking those sensations to in the virtual space? So can I pretend that I'm fully within some kind of experience that makes me feel things, makes me feel happy, makes me feel like I'm eating a sandwich when I'm not, or makes me feel like I'm eating a pizza. And here people start responding like, oh, we need to limit these things because, it starts being a little bit outside of what they can imagine. Oh, wait, I don't want to leave through a virtual thing. I want to experience real life. However, I don't think this argument holds, because I'm a deep believer in human curiosity and engineering, and I believe that those two together with the right technology, if it's possible, it will be done. And that means if it's possible for someone to stimulate some kind of feeling in my hands or in my body, that will eventually happen through whichever technology takes me there. Let's assume even limitless, and let's assume we can fully virtualize our lives. And I'm not saying this to sound crazy. Just why stop? Why draw the line at the hearing and visual sensations? Who am I to draw that line there? I'll say, well, let's just, as long as I get my nutrients and I can live and connect it to some computer, I'm no one to say that the line shouldn't be there. But what concerns does that start bringing us? So if you think of sensations, and if someone can simulate some kind of touch in my hands, the only difference between that and pain and physical pain would be the intensity, right? So more than just making sure people cannot read my thoughts and write my thoughts, so privacy and confidentiality and integrity, we start having concerns just by expanding our reality box to the physical sensation. We start having to think, wait a second, what about physical pain? And that's something that you not traditionally think of. Right. So what are the key takeaways? This is quite fast, but that's what I wanted to really make sure I would pass through yourself. We need to be creative enough so that new threat scenarios emerge from things that we were... So who here would think about physical pain just from whatever we have, the technology we have now? It's not really something that we think of, but by just unlocking that new perspective, we start thinking of it, or we should start, or maybe it's crazy, but it's just to make ourselves think, okay, maybe we think that maybe we need we need something a little bit more creative on that. Another thing that I really, really believe in is deterrent controls. So just saying you cannot do it is not something that holds. Look, we are humans, and what distinguishes us from other animals is the curiosity. If it's possible, it will happen. It's not because we are bad. It's just engineering. It will happen. So do not hold on to those policies that you have. Don't rely on them to make sure. And I say, and that's good, right? Because look what curiosity has made us do in terms of technology. I'm able to have like this thing connected to my laptop, and it shows something in a TV or in a screen. It's like that. It still amazes me. We owe that to curiosity. Again, with creativity, when you're doing your threat models, just try to do that extra step of going a little bit outside of the reality box that you are right now, because your reality box might be just a little bit under what the attackers is. So just add that creativity. Just think, what's your physical pain scenario on whatever you're threat modeling, and don't limit yourself to the boundaries of your reality box. That's all.
Anybody have any questions?
Thanks for that, Patricia. So I took your point that you're looking at like what threats look like now and in the future. But I struggled a bit with what you said there, because I've been around in the industry for many years, and I'm sort of comparing. Well, if you look at the past to how threats were in the past to what I imagine them now, it's the same things that come up over and over again. And I was just wondering, do you think that will always be true, or is this is there a fundamental set of things that are always going to be security weaknesses that are fundamental to the human character, or do you think that new technologies will naturally bring new, different ways of attacking?
Great question. So I think there are certain so the new concerns don't eliminate the common ones. So one thing that you could see is that privacy is always a concern. Even in my grandparents' time, they would be concerned, okay, can anyone read my letters that are supposed to be only to that person? So you can see privacy is always a concern there. It's just that new security considerations are added. It's not that they are, I'm absolutely not saying that the old ones are gone. Some are even hiding it, like highlighted now. So because the privacy now and the data, it's kind of just a derivation from those really old ones. But because it's much bigger and we're all just connected to each other, they are even more important. And if you go to the future, they are still there. I still don't want people to read my mind. It's no, please do not read and not write. I'd say that write is even worse. I'd say. So absolutely, it's not that there are always the common ones. It's just that you might encounter other ones that you're not thinking right now, but you might have to think of them in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got one if no one else does. So I was just wondering, in terms of you talking about your threat modeling, going back to the title of your slide, where do you draw the line in terms of how far do you go to say that this is something that's beyond the realm, or this is something that we need to build in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you do it on impact? Do you do it on time to adoption? How do you draw that line?
I know. I haven't had that much experience in that. I've done a couple, and that's something that I struggle with because I just want to fix everything. My line is really well in my acceptance line in terms of threats is that I don't accept. I'm like, no, we have to defend against this, even if it's such a small thing. So I would say, because ultimately, and this is something that I've learned recently, ultimately everything is a business. So if companies that you work for, they're not looking to be absolutely 100% secure, because everyone knows that's not possible and it's not profitable. So I'm going to say this. It's almost like a joke, but just go as much as you can until you're like told off by your superior saying, no, you cannot do that because you're spending way too much money just handling that one threat scenario. But do consider them, because I believe that you're better off at least knowing the threats are there. Even if you're not handling them, you are aware and you are conscious that it's something. Even if the likelihood is really small, it's something that can happen. So,
cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yep.
Thank you. You know how you said that don't limit yourself to the boundaries of your reality box. How would you suggest to somebody, like, how to achieve that? Like, how can one push themselves to think above that reality box?
Excellent question. Just you need creativity. You need to think that. That's a really good question. You just screwed me. Because I'm not trying to think. What made me think of the physical pain one?
Would it be like exposing yourself to things and just, I don't know, experiencing whatever happens and then...
Open mind, maybe?
Fair enough, no, I'll take it.
And open, and others just talking to people and coming to conferences like this, where you, because sometimes just one, or a shower, sometimes you're in the shower and you just find something in your brain, like back there. You're like, you know what? It makes sense. And you just have to try to fit it in.
True. Thank you.
Cool. We're out of time. Thank you so much.